You're teasing basically the final chapter of the book, and you talk about the importance of galvanizing public opinion against this challenge. But there's some more specific policy prescriptions you have as well. So I wonder if you might delineate some of those.
Well, we need to get our technology policy right. We need, there's a $250 billion piece of legislation moving through Congress now, broad bipartisan support to support us in terms of our cutting edge technologies. That's all very good. I embrace it. But one of the challenges we face is that the Chinese are deeply ensconced in our technology infrastructure, not only the 360,000 Chinese students in the innermost sanctums of our laboratories, and they're not all spies. I don't want to create that boogeyman, but the Chinese also have penetrated using cyber security, cyber penetrations, as well as other forms of human penetration. So we can spend $250 billion on trying to develop these new technologies, but in effect, we have become a farm system, a AAA baseball team, where they can cherry pick the ideas that they like and take them back to China. They have shadow laboratories back there, and the government throws billions of dollars at them, and they can develop the ideas faster than we can because of impediments in how our venture capital system works in terms of how the interface between our private sector and public sector. So we have to tighten up our targets. We have to recognize that we've been deeply penetrated. I know this sounds wild like a mad hatter, but the evidence is overwhelming that the Chinese have penetrated our systems and are not getting caught. The Russians, we're catching the Russians because they use brute force. They're less sophisticated. So we need to harden our targets. We need to get smart about our technology development. We need to involve our allies in developing 5G and we need to compete against Huawei. We need to recognize that it's a olive world, all of our allies together. We need to tap all these talents to resist Chinese penetration of our systems, to create competitive products. And so we need to recognize the nature of the challenge, and then the allies, the relations with allies is so important. But it's already reached the point, I would argue, that we by ourselves cannot withstand the juggernaut that the Chinese have created. We need to work with our Japanese and Korean, Indian, European allies to create the technological base, the technological tools, the foreign policy tools to standards, to create the standards that will dominate the future. By ourselves, we simply cannot do it. It's already reached that point, in my view.
Which I think probably is what spurred the TPP question. We have a question from Tricia. How much did China's economic success hoodwink American business community and establishment? As a foreign correspondent in Russia, I thought America excused China's anti-democratic and human rights abuses because of economic success and opportunity. I think I imagine that would be a resounding yes, but why don't you?
I'm not quite sure I get the question. Can you say it? Can you summarize it for me?
How much did China's economic opportunity hoodwink American businesses to overlook their human rights abuses?
Well, the obvious response is that there are billions of dollars being made in China, billions of dollars that are flowing directly to the bottom line, directly to share price, directly to the compensation packages of CEOs. So Tim Cook is a fabulously wealthy man, as is Jeff Bezos. The CEOs of these companies have made billions of dollars. Their shareholders have gained, their employees have gained, but they have personally become like the robber barons of the 1910s, 19-teens, as spectacularly wealthy men, the Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers. So and Wall Street drank the Kool-Aid long ago and has invested tens of billions of dollars in China. And so the Wall Street, we would expect Wall Street titans to complain vigorously if the Americans were to get serious about competing against China, because that might affect their enormous investments there. Their IPOs, for example, how many billions of dollars has Wall Street made bringing Chinese companies to have their IPOs on the New York Stock Exchange and on NASDAQ? So the profit motive has absolutely played an amazing role. Let me just one story. Since Xi Jinping, in fact, is in many ways is a Leninist, it was Lenin who said the capitalists will sell us the rope with which we will use to hang them. So that is the Leninist piece of this.
That's almost precisely, I suppose, what's occurred. That actually raises another question. It segues to the contemporary a bit, but to what extent is all this economic self-interest, the justifications of making money in China that's excused the human rights abuses being undercut by Xi's attack on free businesses, whether
Right.
Jack Ma, we saw an incident with a rider app just the other day.
DD,
One
right.
would think that this is potentially creating a counterforce that could undercut some of those assumptions.
There's something very big happening here, very deep is happening, that Xi Jinping is so determined to develop complete cybersecurity that a company like DD had the audacity to go public on June 30th, a couple of days before the Communist Party's anniversary, after the party told them not to do that they have to be disciplined. And one piece of it is that they're saying that, well, if they went public in New York, that they have to disclose certain information to the Americans, and that will be used by CIA, NSA to spy on China. But the real piece of it is discipline. The Communist Party wants to discipline them. So the Chinese entrepreneurs who created these major successful companies are being reined in. They're being told, we want access to your data. We want to control your data. They're inserting Communist Party committees into these companies, which means if you have a Communist Party committee in your company, guess who tells you what to do? The Communist Party committee tells you, Mr. CEO, would you please go in this direction? So Xi Jinping is, this is so enormous, it's hard to be precise, but it would appear that he is starting a process of decoupling in some respects, that he is beginning a process of saying, blowing away the old arguments about globalization, that our companies can operate there and their companies can operate here, and that we can all be part of a big global happy family. It appears he's beginning to blow that apart, that he's beginning to say, I don't believe in that anymore. What I believe in is controlled by the Communist Party. And if you don't believe in that, then I have a gulag for you.